I think what really interested me in bass making is the size of it. Everything is a pain when you work on basses. You never know how to do it. You never know how to put it, where to put it when you're done. If you have a tiny workshop and you have 4 basses, you can't walk.
I had a great time connecting with today's guest. He was a recommendation from Mitch Mooring, who helps me put this podcast together. I'm Jason Heath. This is Contrabass Conversations. We are chatting today with Sam Morel, who has recently taken a job at David Gage String Instruments. And I'm actually not sure whether he has made it to New York to start yet, because he took the job and then the pandemic hit and he was stuck in Europe. So at the time of this conversation, he was still in Europe, but planning on heading to New York. And so hopefully he's made it there. But he's done so many cool things. He's worked for Patrick Charton, who's a past podcast guest, really interesting bass maker and innovator. He won a silver medal for tone at the 2019 International Society of Bassists Convention and a certificate of merit at the 2018 Violin Society of America competition. How cool is that? Thank you, Mitch, for the recommendation. And without further ado, let's dive into today's conversation with Sam Morel. But hey, great idea of Mitch to connect us. I'm what? Have we met in person before? Because we've been at a lot of the same things.
Actually, I don't. No, we didn't. I saw you, but I never. How to say that? I didn't want to interrupt or something, so I just.
Well, next time we're at ISB or VSA or whatever, we'll have to hang out a little bit, because I was thinking, because we were both at the 2019 ISB, and but there's so much going on there, and then I spent a day in Lucca too last year, I guess. Get out of here!
But,
really? Wow. Okay.
Just one day, because I was doing a road trip in Italy with my girlfriend, so we stopped in Lucca for a day. But,
what a gorgeous town! Now you weren't at the Bass Europe then. In 2018, was that 2018?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was August 2018.
Yeah. Oh, so you were at that as well?
Yeah, I mean, just for a day. I was.
Oh man, we missed each other there too. That was such a lovely time. Well, hopefully after all this is over and events start happening again, and you get over here, we'll get a chance to hang out.
Sure.
But you brought basses from France over to Indiana for the convention. Okay.
Yeah, I did that, and I brought a bass to the VSA too in November 2018, I guess.
Wow.
So yeah, I've done it twice.
Oh,
so it's quite a challenge. But
I'm sure, especially getting to it. Well, like Bloomington is not a direct flight for you.
No. Hopefully, I was taking the plane with my friend Mathieu Mailloux, who also did a bass for the competition, and we both flew from. And then David Gage took the basses and drove. They drove to the ASB to Bloomington. So this was pretty cool.
Wow. And you won a medal, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What did you get? Was it for
tone?
For tone. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Had you met David before that? How had you gone to that VSA bass workshop in the past, or how did you two get connected?
No. So actually, my girlfriend's from the US, so we were thinking about moving to the US. It's been quite some time now, and so we're thinking about New York, just because it's pretty a big town. And so I got in touch with David around, I think, mid 2018 when I started the bass I made for the VSA competition. So. And we met after that. after the competition, I gave the bass to David so he can sell it for me. How do you call that?
Yeah, right.
I can't remember.
Consignment maybe, or something like that. Yeah, so, exactly.
Yeah, so we met there, and so we talk about me working at the workshop and so on and so forth. So yeah, we met a couple of times, and then at the ASB, and I went back in January, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, we met quite sometimes. Yeah.
So you're headed to New York to work there, but just on hold for the moment, right?
Yeah.
Not a good time to move.
Yeah. I mean, it's been almost a year that I've been working on my visa, and it's been approved at the end of March. So I was supposed to move beginning of April. So I guess it's postponed for a bit. But, yeah. Yeah,
probably not a good time to move anywhere right now, especially to another country, and especially to like New York City at this moment.
I think it's well, we'll see. I hope it's not taking too long. But
hopefully sooner rather than. It's funny because I've actually been moving myself during this pandemic, but I moved, like, I can see the building I was living in and where I am now. Okay. So it's like just a little local move, but even that has been a pain in the neck. In terms of everything, deliveries to San Francisco are shut down. Not completely, but a lot. So everything's a lot slower than we were expecting. But. Wow. So you were at the 2018 VSA.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you got some recognition there too, right? You got a certificate.
Yeah, I got a certificate for workmanship. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. That's another place that I missed you, because I was at that event. It was in Cleveland, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I got together with Arnold Schnitzer and Bradley Lovelace, who's a bass player who plays on one of Arnold's ergonomic basses.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen it at there was we're talking about bass, right? Mm-hmm. At some point at the VSA. So I think I've seen it there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You know what? So did you see that session at the VSA? We were at that same session then. It was with, exactly. It was with Arnold Schnitzer, I think Lisa Gass from LA Bass Works, and somebody else.
Probably Paul Hart. No?
I think so.
I think it was the three members of the jury.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds right. Wow. Okay, small world.
The bass world is so tiny, I guess.
So are you living in Paris right now, or I just
no.
Okay, where are you? I just sort of assume that everybody of French origin lives in Paris, but okay, where are you at?
I was born in Paris, but I've never lived in Paris.
Okay.
Right now I'm at my father's in the south of France, just about 4 miles from Spain, on the Mediterranean side, and but it's been the last few months have been a bit complicated. I've been moving a bit, so I've been working for Patrick Charton. I have worked for Patrick Charton for 5 years in Saint-Etienne. So I was there, and then I moved last year. I spent a couple months at Mayu's place in Corrèze, and then I went to a bit in Paris, and then a bit in Brittany where I grew up, and it's just moving around a bit, waiting for my visa, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, bouncing. Well, if you're gonna be stuck somewhere for a period of time, the south of France, you could do worse than the south of France. I think.
It's pretty good. It's pretty cool.
I was chatting with Eleanor Martindale, who helps organize a festival in the south of France, and I'm blanking on exactly where, but we were talking about the climate and the weather and everything. And
is it in Aix-en-Provence?
Yes. Where is that where is that in relation to where you are right now?
It's on the opposite side of the Mediterranean Sea.
Oh, okay.
I mean, so I'm near Spain, and Aix-en-Provence is more of the Italian.
Okay.
Basically, it's about maybe 300 or 400 kilometers from here.
Okay, sure. So
It's not that bad, but it's,
Well, talking to Eleanor about on the Italian side, the south of France, it sounded very similar to what we have here in California, like weather-wise and climate-wise, and so.
A little less waves on the sea because it's a very calm sea. But it's very pretty and quite sunny. I mean, it's been raining for a few days now, but usually it's quite sunny and warm, so it's cool.
Sounds good. Sounds similar to what we got here in this part of California. So you had been working with Patrick Charton then. Yeah. That's so cool. So I met him for the first time in 2017 at the ISB convention in 2017. And he had one of those, I'm forgetting exactly which cool, like, spaceship like bass he had, but it might have been the suitcase bass that he had. I can't remember, but he just showed me how it all folds up. And I mean, what a remarkable innovator in terms of instruments.
Great. Yeah, this instrument's great. It sounds wonderful, and it doesn't need a microphone or pickup or anything. So to have a real sound, he did a really good job on designing that.
Yeah. Well, it's really cool how he has sort of like played around with all the sort of conventional things on the instrument. I just think that's really interesting. Like, why does an F hole, why is it shaped like that? Is it for sonic reasons or tradition reasons? And so I always find I'm a player. I don't know. I don't know much about luthiery except from talking with people, but I thought that was really, really interesting. Must have been an interesting place to work. Yeah,
it's great. Yeah. This instrument is very, it's very interesting to make and there's a lot of such a huge amount of features and things to think about when you make it. And so it's very great to work on that.
Well, and it looks like you're doing beautiful work too, and obviously people are noticing, at these different events. It's great. It'll be great to have you here. Selfishly, have you here in the States, and it's great that you're going to be at Gage's shop. How did you get into working on basses? What's your background? Did you? I always think it's interesting where people come from.
Actually, I'm a terrible musician. I don't really play. I've been playing a bit of electric bass since I was like 12 or 13. But I guess I really went into instrument making on the woodworking side of it more than musical. I mean, I love music. I listen to a lot of music, and I play a bit. But it's more the craftsmanship that interested me. And so I started with violins. I mean, before I did a couple medieval instruments, and then I went to school in Mirecourt and learned violin making, violins, violas. But I think what really interested me in bass making is the size of it. Everything is a pain. When you work on basses, you never know how to do it. You never know how to put it, where to put it when you're done. If you have a tiny workshop and you have 4 basses, you can't walk. And it's kind of exciting you have to always think about how you're going to start and where you're going to go. And I guess that was the big thing. And the size of it is, I really like this. I'm still making violins from time to time, but it's more. I think it's more like playing. Like it's like holidays. I'm making a violin. Well, it's cool.
I mean, it's funny because they're so obviously you're making a string instrument. There are a lot of similarities, but man, the size. I mean, it's just like incredible. How that changes the game.
Yeah. And even for wood, I guess. When you're making a violin, you always find the good size of wood. I mean, you never have a problem with how am I gonna do that? Because my neck block is too big, or I don't have enough wood, or I have to do this or that, or I need to make it comfortable but have a big sound. I mean, the violins, everything is kind of the same. I mean, it's not the same, of course, but there are rules and you have to follow them. Mm-hmm. It's not the same in the bass, in double bass, because everything, it has to be comfortable but have a big sound, but not to be too heavy, but not to be too like that. Everything is a struggle.
But it's got to be a lot of fun though as a luthier too, working in the bass world, because it's like the Wild West of instrument making. It seems like you can do, play around and do and Arnold Schnitzer's ergonomic bass and Patrick Charton's innovations and that. Just think about, I can't imagine like going to the San Francisco Symphony and seeing violinists, adopting all these sort of things. It seems like such a more traditional. I mean, obviously, there's a great tradition of bass making too, but it just seems like you're much more boxed in as a luthier if you're working exclusively with violins.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, bassists are, I think, more open-minded than most of other string players too. So they are ready to accept innovations, which is probably less of the case in a more traditional, very classical world, like violin. So I
think so. I think so. 100%. I was actually just on a call for a company I work for with a couple violinists, and I was to provide, like, we were talking to stores and about what violinists need, want, or whatever in an instrument, and then bass. And it's so funny because every time we got to bass, it's like we're talking about rosin. They're like, oh yeah, we use this rosin or this rosin, and then we get around to me, and I'm like, all right, and I hold up these like 5 Leatherwood bespoke rosins I have right here, and I'm like, and this is just one of like so many people that are trying all sorts of different things, and it's really it's a fun world, and it's got to be interesting to experiment with different. I'm always fascinated by what people are doing in terms of bass shapes or bass, like how many basses have you made at this point?
It's hard to say, but I signed off my own name. I'd say it's 3.
Okay.
3 basses, but I've been working for Patrick Charton for 5 years as part of a team. So I've been working on about 30 or 40 basses.
Sure.
But as a team, so it's not my.
And is that pretty? I'm just so green to this world, but I know a lot of people are interested in what. That's like how you do it though, as a luthier, right? Aren't you typically you have some sort of apprenticeship, some sort of training, whether it's actually going to a school of violin making or spending time in a shop, and then at some of these more established places, a lot of the time people are working together, right? Or helping out other luthiers. It's common the path you.
Yeah, I think especially in Europe, it's like it was the case like hundreds of years ago. Yeah, I mean, like we see, like Stradivari had multiple employees, and they were making the violins for him. I mean, he was probably always checking everything, as did Patrick. I mean, but so the luthier is signing his instrument. So every instrument that goes out of Stradivari's like bodega, workshop, is a Stradivari.
Right.
Even if there were 4 or 5 working on it. And I think in Europe it's pretty common to work like that because everybody works for someone and is checking everything, so it's still his style, his sound, and is signing on it, signing the instrument. So most of the places in France work like that, I think.
And that's a very traditional setup, like in Germany. If we go back in time, that's like the traditional, isn't that like the 19th century German workshop sort of set? I think that sort of setting has been in place in Europe for quite some time.
Yeah. I think from the beginning of violin making, I think. Amati has had employees Dassault had employees. I mean, or pupils or apprentice, I guess. So yeah.
What have you done?
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, what have you done in terms of the basses that you've signed your name to? Or I know you did a collaborative bass, or have been working on with Matthew, right? Haven't you two been working on a bass? Yeah. So either that bass or some of the other basses, maybe what you had at ISB or VSA, or just anything. Have you been using the same pattern? Have you been experimenting with different patterns? What have you just been doing? I've seen photos, and I'll link up to all that. But just like, what have you been doing in terms of patterns?
Oh, so the free basses are totally different.
Okay, they are.
Actually,
cool. Okay,
yeah,
nice.
So the first one was for the VSA. I actually did at the workshop at Patrick's workshop. It was a Italian model, Panormo, but we redesigned a bit. So it's a huge bass, very big sound, dark, like very orchestral bass. It's a big baby. The second one I made for the ISB, that I made at home, I guess, is a very French bass. So it was based on Gambernardel from 1886, I think. And I redesigned the F-holes. I drew a scroll because it was originally it was a lion's head, and I did a double how do I call it double button on the back, very French, typically red varnish. And the third one I made with Mathieu in September, I guess, is a pattern of his own. So it's gamba shaped, no violin. It's a flat back with the responsive bracing. We went all in with this one, trying things. It's poplar back and ribs, and it's so it's very, very different. It's almost Viennese, I'd say. It's kind of Italian Viennese vibe. It's a bit funky.
That's cool. And, for the flat back, for the last one, the responsive bracing, is that similar to that Matthew Tucker design, or is it that?
Yeah,
it is. Okay,
it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I've been wanting to do it for since I've seen it first time. I think it was a brilliant idea, but it was actually the first flat back I made. flat back bass I made. I mean, apart from the treble bass, we shot some treble bass. But so I wanted to try that, and particularly with poplar back, which is probably it's not. I mean, I think it prevents a lot of trouble.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, for now it works great. It's been only 6 months, but I can't imagine having problems with it. It's very well designed and very well thought.
How does
it sounds great?
I can't wait to hear it in person. How does poplar differ in terms of either tone or response, or how it holds up under different climates, or like how is that similar or different from maple? Because you'd be typically doing a maple bass. Yeah. I mean, you use all sorts of things, obviously, but that's pretty standard. What's pop? I'm always interested by how different wood, either the tonal effect it might have, or the harder, softer, just how it holds up.
Yeah, I mean, it's so the wood itself is softer than maple.
Okay.
I think the density is more of it's closer to spruce than maple actually.
Okay.
But it doesn't react the same at all as spruce. It reacts a bit like maple. It's a bit weird. So you tend to have, I would say, more depth and richness in the sound. Maybe a little less power. I mean, I don't know if you can tell that. Yeah, it's maybe a little less powerful, but you can always compensate with a different arching on the top or thickness. So you can make a poplar bass sound like a maple bass.
Okay.
But you have to know how to do it. I mean, if you do exactly the same thing on the maple bass and the poplar bass, I would think that the maple bass would be more powerful, and the poplar bass would be more rich, but a little, a bit more dark, maybe.
Okay.
I would say, yeah, poplar is darker and maple is brighter. But once again, you can do pretty much everything you want if you know how to do it, I guess.
Sure. So flatbacks and roundbacks, and people are always debating about what, people like different things, and I've certainly played on both, and that question has been asked a lot. So I mean, one advantage I would think of a flatback is just the cost would be less to make, and then I know that the player perception, whether or not that's true, the player perception is often that it's like a little bit punchier, right?
Yeah. More responsive.
Yeah. Do you think you're gonna? Do you have any thoughts on what the next time you start on a bass? Do you think you're gonna go flatback again, or roundback, or like what? Like having now made a flatback bass, or in collaboration, what do you think?
Honestly, I don't know. I think I'll see. I tend to. I like seeing a piece of wood and say, oh yeah, I'm gonna do a bass with that, and whether it's a flatback or a roundback. But I don't know, probably a flatback. I want to try it again. Maybe maple, maybe maple flatback. I want to do a copy. Actually, yeah. I want to improve my varnish and try to do things like that. I think it's pretty exciting to patine. Patine. To make an instrument look old. It's pretty. I mean, it's exciting for makers. I don't know if it is for musicians, but
I think it definitely is, and it's really interesting to see what people do in terms of antiquing. Thinking about Matthew Tucker again, though, the bracing, he was antiquing. I think it was a Shen bass, but it was a Chinese bass, and he had it looked incredible what he had done, and so I think that's an art in and of itself that I think is really interesting. Ralph Alcala, a luthier here in California, he and I were talking about antiquing and what he does on his basses, and it's interesting. What do you do to antique? Have you antiqued your basses to an extent, the ones you've made so far?
Yeah. So the first one I did a pretty light antiquing, the one I made for the VSA at Patrick's workshop. It's more of what we tend to do at Patrick's. So it's light antiquing. It's more of like to be catchy, but it's not very. I mean, it looks real, but you can tell it's not old.
Right. Sure.
The second one I did like a plain varnish, very full, no untaking at all. And the last one we made with Mathieu, we antiqued it pretty. I mean, quite a lot. I mean, trying to have crackly and different textures, different layers of aging, I guess. Retouching, polishing, depolishing, taking off some varnish, putting it back, a bit like it would age naturally.
Yeah. Wow.
But I'm gonna go further, even further for the next one. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll see if I have time to, because it takes a lot of time.
Right.
And if it's a bit. It's a compromise to do, because you can't spend like 3 months making a bass and another month antiquing it, because you'll have to sell it at fortune. And
right.
I mean, nobody wants to pay a fortune. I mean, yes, they would, but I don't know.
Yeah.
The musicians want sound mostly, I think, and it's
definitely a balancing act, trying to figure out, but I've always been interested in what people do, and I personally, I love that patina, that sort of like lived in, complex look that you get. I have a relatively modern, it's not that modern anymore, it was 1995, but I have a Jackstat bass, which I love. It's a great bass, but not antiqued, and so I feel every mark I put on that bass. It's like, it looks so painful, bad every time I get something chunked out of it. So
yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, on new instruments, everything you can see everything.
I know. It'll be interesting to see. Hopefully you'll have time for continuing to make some basses on your own at David's shop.
Yeah.
I would assume that you'd be doing that, given how well received what you've been doing has been, but it's
I mean, we still have to talk about it. I'll do mostly restoration, if not all everything. I mean, I'll do restorations, but I don't actually know if we're gonna start making at the shop. Anyway, I'm gonna work on my own time.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be very prolific, I guess, with a full-time job and making a bass. So we'll see, but I definitely want to continue and keep on making basses.
Have you figured out where you're going to live in New York yet? Do you know? Are you going to try to be in the city or outside of the city, or?
So my girlfriend moved to New York in December, so she's got a flat in Bushwick, Brooklyn.
Yeah, great.
So we're gonna stay there for a couple of months, I guess, until we can find a place of our own. But I think we're gonna stay in the city, either Brooklyn or I don't know. Village, maybe, I don't know. Yeah,
that's a great place. They're both good places. I know the shop is in the Village, right? I've walked by it. I still have.
It's in Tribeca.
Oh, it's in Tribeca. Okay. My New York geography is a little hazy, but I last time I was in New York, I actually I didn't get around to going to the shop, but I'll go and say hi to you next time.
Sure.
Yeah, the only other United States city that's competing for expense with New York is where I live, San Francisco, and so we have very it's insane. And so we have very New York, Manhattan-sized living quarters here, and that I always think about the challenges that poses for someone who's making. But I know you can make basses anywhere. I remember talking to Trevor Davis a couple years ago about how he was like sleeping under his bench and that sort of thing. So I know you can.
The bass I made for ISB, most of it I made on my dining table in my flat in Lyon. So you if you want to do it, you can. But we'll see. I don't really know exactly where we're gonna live, but I don't think I'm gonna be really able to work at my apartment. But I think I'm gonna go on weekends at the workshop.
That's a good way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably easier.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that you two are. So she's in New York right now.
Actually, she's in Texas right now. She's from Texas. She's from Austin.
Okay, so she's in the States though. So that I can only imagine what kind of drag that is. My wife and I are luckily quarantined, but in the same place. So I'm sure you'll look forward to getting this over with. Probably even more than most of us.
Totally.
So.
Yeah. Hopefully it's gonna. Yeah. I mean, we are quarantined here until the 11th, I think, of May.
Of May, okay.
And then I have to go to the embassy and have everything done, and so I don't know actually when I'm gonna be able to move, but.
Right. Yeah.
Hopefully in June.
Hopefully in June. Yeah, we're quarantined through, I don't even know at this point, into May in San Francisco, but I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised to see that get extended here. But at some point you'll be in New York City. Hopefully by the summer.
Yeah. It would be great.
Nice. Well, and hopefully we'll get a chance to hang out, if not in New York before then certainly, hopefully ISB 2021.
Yeah, sure.
Hopefully with a new bass from you. A year from now. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely think about it.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
If I don't, if I'm in New York soon enough, I'll start. Bass.
Yeah. A lot of uncertainties right now, but that's Well, I thank Mitch for the idea for us chatting, and I'll be sure to link up to your Instagram and anywhere else you want me to send folks. Obviously link up to David Gage since that's where you'll be, but anything else you want me to point people toward?
I don't really know actually, because I'm not good in media. Yes.
Well, you're going to be more on the media now after this. So
yeah. Hopefully, yeah. Maybe you can link up to Mathieu Mayou.
Yeah. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I'll do that too.
I think Instagram is
perfect.
It's the place.
Perfect.
I'll try to put on some interesting content. It's hard right now.
It's definitely hard right now. But I saw that throwback post from you traveling to and I was just imagining I was just in England before this all broke out, and I didn't even have a bass. I just had a bow, and it was enough of a pain in the neck just to get there. I can only imagine. And then to try to get someplace like Bloomington, where like from Europe, that's not no direct flight, even remotely, for that. So
it was fun. It was fun.
That's great.
Good. Yeah.
Nice. Hey Sam, it's great to chat like this, and it'll be
to meet you.
Yeah, great to meet you too. I'll tell Mitch hi from you, and we'll be in touch.
Cool.
Great. Have a good rest of your day.
So much.
All right, thanks Sam.
You too.
Take care.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye. Sam, thank you for chatting. Mitch, thank you for the introduction. Can't wait to see what you're up to, Sam, at David Gage and just in the future. And we will meet in person one of these days soon. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. I've had a busy time, and I know many of you who listen were at the International Online Bass Summit. That was a great time. And it's been interesting. The last maybe 3 months have been spent, much of my time has been spent planning that event. And then I took a little bit of time, tried to relax. We had our 4th of July weekend here in the States, and now getting back into a new groove, sort of realizing I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. Trying to accept that. I'm trying to get better at just accepting things as they are. Not awesome at that, but I'm working at it and trying to do all sorts of new projects. Not really on the podcast, except it's always new, I guess, because we're chatting with new people or returning people, but you know what I mean. I'm yammering. Apologies. But also, we've got a few new projects in the works. This really cool new sheet music store that is coming soon, featuring selections from many of the people you've heard on the podcast, and the way that's all been wired together. Got to give a huge shout out to Trevor Jones, who took over the podcast last week. It was last week, right? Yeah, last week. And he's been working on that along with me, but mostly him. So that's coming soon. I have a couple of courses coming out with Discover Double Bass. That is really cool. Eastman Strings, the company I work with, we've got a whole bunch of things in the works. I'm so thankful that I'm working with them. They are keeping me sane and busy, and been trying to do a lot of YouTube videos, trying to keep from buying too many cameras and microphones. I have a bad tendency to get obsessed with things and start buying gear, and $10,000 later, I look up and I have this pile of gear. So trying to have fun making videos, but trying to limit myself in terms of what I get obsessed with in terms of gear. I don't know why I'm telling you all this. I guess I'm just feeling talkative this morning. So I've shouted out two of the members of the team, Trevor Jones and Mitch Mooring, who again makes great basses, mitchmooring.com. You can learn more about him. And Michael Cooper and Steve Hinchy, who edit the audio for these. Krista Copper, who archives and catalogs everything. And that theme music, by the way, that's me just meandering in G minor with the bow, but that groovy pizzicato, that is Eric Hochberg from Chicago, Illinois. Learn more about him at erichochberg.com. I'm your host, Jason Heath, and we will see you again soon for more life on the low end of the spectrum.